Stephen Peal is the Managing Director of PPS Power and has recently become a qualified mental health first aider through MHFA England. MHFA are a social enterprise that offer expert guidance and training to support mental health in the workplace and beyond. Their mission is to train 1 in 10 people in mental health awareness and skills. Stephen talked to us about the benefits this qualification can bring to businesses through improved awareness and leadership practices that offer more effective support to employees. What impact does a lack of mental health awareness have on businesses?
Any business that doesn't have awareness for mental health, let alone having a mental health first aider, will feel the impact of that, and it will impact on the effectiveness of that business. All businesses have people within them, and the greatest asset for any business is people. And the stats are these: 1 in 4 will experience mental health issues in any given year. Recently, anxiety, depression and stress accounted for 35% of all work-related ill health, and 43% of all working days lost to ill health. I could go on. There are many stats to prove this point, but it's clear that if a business can enable itself to support individuals who struggle with mental health issues, they will inevitably improve staff wellbeing and help to prevent the preventable sick days.
What is mental health first aid in the workplace?
Mental health first aid in the workplace should be looked at and regarded as first aid in the workplaces. There are very few, if no, businesses that don't have a first aider, but how many actually have a mental health first aider? Now, a first aider's job is to ensure that everyone is safe until professional help arrives, particularly the person that's had the injury. They're not a doctor, they're not a nurse, they're there just to make sure that person is safe and professional help can be sought. A mental health first aider, they're not a therapist, they're not a counsellor. He or she is simply a safe place where people can feel they can communicate, they can talk to someone who has the knowledge to identify potential symptoms and possibly signpost them in the direction of professional help. A normal first aider, for want of a better word, if someone had a fall or got something in their eye or had an injury, they would simply apply practices to ensure that that person was safe, and then, if necessary, call emergency support or get them to some kind of emergency help. A mental health first aider is very similar. They are there to ensure that the individual and everyone else around is safe. It's unlikely that emergency services would be called, but they could be, of course, but it's more likely that professional support is suggested, recommended and encouraged. And not just professional support from friends, colleagues, family, just making sure that that individual that has the mental health illness is seeking support.
How do you think this qualification improves leadership skills and supports performance management?
Understanding mental health better means that you understand the individual and the employee better. So therefore it helps you to explore ways in which they can be better understood and therefore better supported. I'm repeating myself a little bit. Naturally, an employee that feels supported, valued and understood will perform better. Having this understanding will also help leaders and managers of people to make the right approach to enable improvements in performance much quicker. I think that we as a larger business community are getting better at how to motivate through softer approaches and seeking understanding before, shouting and screaming and going in too hard. But there is certainly room for us to improve. And understanding mental health allows you to improve in that area. I always thought I had very good people skills and was very good at the softer approach with a wide variety of different employees. But since going on the mental health first aid course, I have questioned how I have approached certain performance management situations. And I do believe that I will now approach those situations in a better way, in a way that allows the employee to feel understood, which allows us to come up with a better outcome for both the employee and the company, and to enable better performance management. There's a reason behind every action, and being able to get to the root cause of any performance issues and why that action has come around will obviously lead to a better and positive outcome for everybody involved.
What challenges do you face when starting conversations about mental health?
Starting a conversation about mental health, that's the big hurdle, the start of the conversation, the talking. And an environment that doesn't naturally talk openly about mental health issues, posters up, conversations, the leaders of that business consciously talking about mental health issues. You need to normalize the illness. It's exactly the same as any other illness that you would freely discuss around the office. And if you can normalize it and make it a common place to talk about it, then the one-to-one conversations are much easier for people to have, and to know where to go to have them. I'm very conscious that I wear two hats in this organisation as the business leader and the mental health first aider. So far, I think it's going well. It's very early days, but so far it's okay, and plenty of people have come to talk to me, which is great. And I feel like I can wear the right hat at the right time. But the more people you have trained in as a mental health first aider, the better. We'll be rolling out training, because not everybody will be comfortable to come to me. That's a fact. Not everyone will. Thankfully, like I say, I have had many people come and start to talk to me, and that's the key. They've started the conversation. They've opened the door to the possibility that there is a safe place for them to talk about how they are feeling. Some of the conversations have just simply been about the pressure they've been feeling and the stress they're under. And again, great, healthy conversations. It doesn't have to be a conversation about something that could be categorized as a mental health issue. In fact, the earlier you start talking and having conversations about how you're feeling and what pressures you're under, the less likely it's going to become anything bigger. Talking is the key factor, and it will only happen in an environment that is safe to do so. So be really careful of the language that is being used, especially if you are the mental health first aider. As a mental health first aider, and as a business leader, really, you should not be joking and belittling mental health. The minute you do that, you are just saying to anybody who is feeling that way that you're not a safe place for them to come. You're not someone that can take it seriously, and you're potentially someone who will make a laugh and a joke about it, which is the worst thing you can do. Language is very important. Be very careful about the language that is used around the office about mental health in particular.
What skills do you need to become a mental health first aider?
So, skills to become a mental health first aider. Now, there was a lot that was discussed in the 2-day course, but don't feel that you need to be an academic. I have, and I will continue to read and watch some of the recommended literature that they have suggested, and improve my understanding at my own pace. What you need to be is a good listener. Sounds like an obvious one. Of course, people are going to come and talk to you. You need to be a good listener, but you need to be able to listen without being judgmental in any way, and to put your own point of references to one side. Everybody's been brought up differently. Everyone has very different experiences. Do not bring your own experiences and your own points of reference into that discussion. It's important to remember that as a mental health first aider, you are not a trained therapist, you're not a counsellor, and we should not be giving advice on how to manage situations. The role is to listen, give support, and encourage professional help. Not just professional help, but support from family and friends. Just make sure that there's a safe place for them to talk and to identify that potentially there's a mental health issue here, and to say that you probably need to go and see your GP, get a referral, but to push them towards the professional help. Don't try and give it yourself as a mental health first aider. You're just there to listen, non-judgmentally, without your own point of reference, and help to push them in the right direction. Also key as a mental health first aider that you know how to look after yourself. If people are downloading onto you, it can be very, very draining and telling you all about everything that's going on. So it's really important that you know how to look after your own well-being, and do, practice all the right things that you would be. Practice what you preach. That's what they say. I would encourage people to become mental health first aiders, or to at least have developed their understanding in mental health. It's not something you would ever regret doing.
Why do you think it's important for more men to take up mental health first aider roles?
I was very pleased with how many men were on the course that I went on for 2 days, and surprised, rightly or wrongly. I don't know, men tend not to talk to each other about how they're feeling. It is improving. Men do open up a little bit more nowadays in this generation and younger generations, but slowly improving. We perhaps have a tendency to bury our feelings more than women may do, or just carry on regardless. There's some more stats for you. 36% of NHS referrals for therapy are for men. So you would think it would be a bit more than that if men were coming forward much easier. However, 3 times as many men as women die by suicide. Men aged between 40 and 49 have the highest rates of suicide in the UK. So men need to talk about it more. Men do need to come forward, and to realise that mental health is normal. It's just the same as any other illness that you might get. And it's important that men get involved in this normalising of mental health discussions. And if becoming a mental health first aider helps men to do so, then great. And if having male mental health first aiders allows more men to come forward and talk about mental health issues, then great. But it's important that whoever is the mental health first aider, that they are approachable. So the more people you have, and the more diverse group of people that you have trained in mental health, the better. So men, women, race, religion, sexual orientation, everything. People need to feel there is a comfortable place for them to go, and a safe place for them to go and talk. Talk without being judged, and being able to access the right level of support from someone who knows how to point them in the right direction.